I'm Richard Jordan of K&L Gates. We're a law firm very much like Taylor Wessing, and I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the DD process. As Peter said, when the idea is to get the next meeting when you go into your first presentation. After a few more meetings, people will expect you to back up what you've said in your IM and what you've said in the presentations. So it's always good to have to keep an eye on DD, and in particular to make sure that what you're saying, even from the very, very early stages, you say in a way that you're able to back up later on. When investors look at a business, there are generally three types of legal, financial and commercial DD that they do. There's also a growing trend for investors to look into you as individuals, in particular when you get a bit later on, perhaps into private equity stroke public markets. People will start looking very closely at you individually. It's very much a process that's tailored to individual investments, and as I say, it's designed to back up what you've said in your investor presentations. The idea is to identify the risks which are associated with your business. And the reason this is important from your perspective is that this is linked to preparation of the contractual documents through which investors invest, and in particular the preparation of the warranties and indemnities, which is how investors hold you to account for what you've said. I've put a list there of key areas. As Annie said, very important to get your house in order in relation to your corporate structure. And I'm just going to back up what she said in relation to putting together a DD room. If you start out doing that, then it means that you don't have to spend £50,000 or get £50,000 worth of free legal advice because you won't need to. If you have your key contracts in place, if you've been careful with your employee contracts, if you've properly documented whoever's put money in to begin with, even if it's in a very basic way, then you're much, much better off when it comes to putting the initial DD data room together. I won't bother going through all of those, but obviously in relation to Cleantech companies, IP is central, not just patents, but also your trademarks, and as Thomas said, your know-how as well. Being able to document that and show it to people is one of the first things an investor will ask for. Also, any litigation and disputes you need to cover off. Just a brief run through of the process. It's quite often, especially for people doing their first investor presentations and their first run through on this process. It's a bit of a daunting one because you get faced, especially if you go to professional investors, VCs, private equity, and even family offices. Their lawyers will send you a 30-page, 40-page questionnaire, which sets out huge numbers of questions in relation to your business. You'll then have to send that back to them, together with all the documentation that you've hopefully pulled together and put in your data room, or at least references to that. They will then have further questions for you, which will follow on from the initial ones. They'll probably want to visit you. There'll be potentially some inquiries of your customers. What they're trying to do there is obviously back up that you've actually got those relationships. It's worth saying that you should be guided here by the fact that you are going to be held to account, because the next stage of this process, due diligence comes generally before they decide to make an investment, and they put all of the contractual documentation together, because this is obviously the expensive bit in terms of getting lawyers and accountants involved. But you should always, from the very beginning, make sure that you're giving answers honestly and also giving full disclosure. And the reason for that is because the contractual documentation, which might be a subscription agreement, might be a shareholders agreement, likely to be a shareholders agreement, will contain warranties and indemnities. And if it's an early stage business, those are likely to be backed by personal guarantees. And obviously, it's highly embarrassing if you get to that stage, and fatal for the whole process if you get to that stage, and then because of the fact that you are being asked to put your house on the line, you then decide to tell the investor something that they've asked in the past but you haven't given them an answer to. That is pretty much all I've got to say about DD. Obviously, there are a lot of different ways to do this, and there's also financial and commercial DD, which you should probably ask an accountant about. But I'll hand back to Anne on that one. Thanks.